Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into one of history's most epic and tragic final stands, the last battle of Spartacus. We all know the name, the gladiator who defied Rome and led a massive slave rebellion. But how did it all end? What happened in that final desperate clash? And what became of Spartacus himself? The story of his death is shrouded in mystery and legend, so let's piece together what we know. To set the stage, it's the year 71 BC. For over 2 years, Spartacus and his army of escaped slaves and disenfranchised people have been a thorn in the side of the Roman Republic. They've defeated multiple Roman legions, pillaged their way across Italy, and proven that the oppressed could rise up and shake the foundations of the world's greatest power. But their luck was running out. Rome, initially underestimating the threat, finally sent their big gun, Marcus Licinius Crassus. Crassus was not just a general, he was one of the wealthiest and most ambitious men in Rome. He wasn't just fighting to defeat a rebellion, he was fighting for his political future and the honor of the Republic. After a series of brutal engagements, Crassus managed to trap Spartacus and his army in the toe of Italy, in the region of Calabria. Spartacus had a plan. He tried to negotiate with Cilician pirates to ferry his army across the Strait of Messina to Sicily. Imagine that, reigniting the rebellion on a new island, a place that had already seen 2 major slave wars. It was a brilliant, daring strategy, but it fell apart. The ancient historians Appian and Plutarch tell us the pirates took his payment and then sailed away, abandoning him and his army. Whether they were bribed by the Romans or simply saw it as too risky, we'll never know. Spartacus was trapped. Crassus, ever the methodical commander, decided to seal the deal. He ordered his legions to build a massive wall, a line of fortifications stretching over 30 miles across the peninsula. This wasn't just a wall, it was a ditch and rampart, a monumental feat of engineering designed to starve the rebels into submission. Hemmed in, with dwindling supplies and the harsh Italian winter setting in, the morale within Spartacus's army began to fracture. They were cornered, and desperation was turning to despair. But Spartacus was not one to give up. On a stormy, snowy night, he launched a surprise attack. In a display of incredible ingenuity, his men filled a section of the ditch with earth, wood, and even the bodies of prisoners and cattle, creating a makeshift bridge. They broke through Crassus's line. It was a stunning success, but a costly one. They were free, but they were weakened, and the full might of Rome was now closing in. And here's where the story takes another dramatic turn. News arrived that 2 more Roman armies were on their way. The legendary general Pompey the Great was returning from Spain, and another force was landing in the south of Italy. Spartacus knew his time was limited. He had to force a decisive battle with Crassus before he was surrounded on all sides. His army, however, was no longer a unified force. A large contingent of Gauls and Germans under their own leaders, Gallicus and Castus, separated from the main body. Perhaps they were overconfident, eager for plunder, or simply disagreed with Spartacus's strategy. Whatever the reason, they were soon cornered and annihilated by Crassus. This was a devastating blow for Spartacus. He had lost a significant portion of his fighting force. Realizing that fleeing was no longer an option, he turned his remaining army around to face Crassus directly. He was no longer trying to escape Italy. He was choosing to make his final stand. The ancient sources paint a picture of a leader determined to go down fighting. Plutarch gives us a powerful, albeit likely dramatized anecdote. Just before the battle, Spartacus was brought his horse. He drew his sword, killed the animal, and declared, "If I am victorious, I will have many better horses from the enemy. But if I am defeated, I will have no need of this one." The message was clear. There would be no retreat, victory or death. The final battle took place in April of 71 BC, near the headwaters of the Sila River in southern Italy. It was a bloodbath. The Roman legions, disciplined and battle-hardened, faced an army of rebels who were fighting with the raw fury of desperation. Our most detailed account comes from Appian. He describes Spartacus trying to cut his way through the chaos directly toward Crassus himself. He wanted to meet the Roman commander in single combat. Imagine the scene: a former gladiator, the leader of a slave rebellion, charging through the ranks of Roman legionaries to take down one of the most powerful men in the Republic. According to the accounts, he fought with incredible ferocity. He cut down to centurions who stood in his way. He was wounded in the thigh by a spear, forcing him to his knees. Even then, he didn't stop, fighting from one knee, using his shield to fend off attacks. He continued to fight until he and the small group of men around him were completely overwhelmed and cut down. His men, seeing their leader fall, fought on with a courage that even their Roman enemies admired. They refused to surrender. They stood their ground and died where they stood. The slaughter was immense. The rebellion was over. So, we know how he died fighting like the legend he was. But what about the second part of our question? Where is his body? This is where the story becomes a true historical mystery. In the aftermath of the battle, the Romans scoured the battlefield, identifying the bodies of their own and the rebel leaders. They found the bodies of Gallicus and Castus. They found thousands upon thousands of slain rebels. But, as Appian explicitly states, the body of Spartacus was never found. Think about the implications of that. The Romans, and especially Crassus, would have wanted nothing more than to display the body of Spartacus. It would have been the ultimate symbol of their victory, a warning to any other slaves who might dream of rebellion. But they couldn't find him. Was he so disfigured in the heat of battle that he was unrecognizable? Did his most loyal followers manage to carry his body away from the battlefield even as they were being slaughtered, to give him a secret burial? Or was he simply lost among the heaps of the slain, just another anonymous casualty in the carnage he had unleashed? We simply don't know. The aftermath of the battle was just as brutal as the fight itself. Crassus wanted to make an example that would echo through history. He captured around 6,000 survivors of Spartacus's army. He didn't execute them quickly. Instead, he had them all crucified along the Appian Way, the main road leading from Calabria. The rebellion began all the way to Rome. For over 120 miles, crosses lined the road, a terrifying and gruesome monument to Rome's victory and its vengeance. It was a message written in blood and suffering, intended to stamp out the very idea of rebellion for generations. And so, Spartacus, the man, vanished from the battlefield. But Spartacus, the legend, was born. His failure to find the body was a source of frustration for Crassus, who, despite winning the war, had to share the credit with Pompey, who had mopped up a few thousand fleeing rebels and claimed he had extirpated the war by its roots. But in a strange way, the mystery of Spartacus's final resting place has only added to his myth. He wasn't captured. He wasn't paraded through Rome in chains. He wasn't publicly executed. He simply disappeared back into the tide of history, a warrior who died on his feet, fighting for freedom. His story became a symbol of the eternal struggle against oppression, a tale that has inspired revolutionaries, artists, and filmmakers for 2,000 years. So, while we may never know where the bones of Spartacus lie, his legacy is undeniable. He was the gladiator who made Rome tremble, the slave who became a general, and the man who, even in his final moments, chose to fight for his dignity rather than live on his knees. What do you think happened to his body? Let me know your theories down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this journey into the past, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from history. See you next time.